submit a story, topic, or have any other inquiries, please email submit@skibanewsnation.com. Also, you can email Jeremiah Skiba personally at jeremiah@skibanewsnation.com. Also, email Jake personally at jake@skibanewsnation.com. If you want to write us a letter, send us something, help support us, or just say hi, please send your letter to Jeremiah Skiba, P.O. Box 560-271, The Colony, Texas 75056. If you write us a letter, I'll do my best to write you back. Hey Skiba News Nation family, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Skiba News Nation. If you want to help support us, please consider becoming a Patreon, where you will get exclusive content, shoutouts, and much more. And you can also support our channel by getting yourself some new Skiba News Nation merch. Thank you for coming on this journey with us as we continue to stay on the quest for truth. Huge shout out to all our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do this show without you. If you want to help support us, go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation. Also, you can listen to Skiba News Nation podcast on your favorite podcast platform.
What it costs. I want to know what the truth is. And I hope that people, my son, anybody, if my name comes up, whether you like me, whether you agree with me or not, at least you can respect the fact that he's on a quest for truth. He's on a quest for truth.
Welcome to Skiba News Nation, bringing you unfiltered views, news, interviews, discussions, and more. And now, here's your host, Jeremiah Skiba, award-winning musician and son of Rob Skiba.
Have I ever told you the story of the magical pistachio? I got lost in the grocery store and couldn't find my way out. But that's when I saw it, a glowing pistachio. It spoke to me and said, "Follow me and I'll lead you to safety." So I followed it and we climbed up shelves and found a secret passage that led me to the bread aisle. And that's how I found my way out of the grocery store, all thanks to the magical pistachio. So if you ever get lost, just remember all you need is a little faith and a magical pistachio to guide you to safety.
What are your thoughts about that AI?
All you need is a magical pistachio.
All right, well, hey Skiba News Nation family, welcome to episode 77 of Skiba News Nation, your weekly source of the latest news, controversial topics, conspiracies, forgotten history, and so much more. I'm your host, Jeremiah Skiba, and today we're going to be talking about woke airlines almost killed everyone on board, feds spying on Trump supporters and people who buy Bibles, lifting the border fence, climate change experts stumped, NASA playing God and making clouds, electric cars frozen with ice-cold weather, DEW lasers caught on camera, Disease X center stage at the WEF, Order of Chaos, Middle East wants World War, your diet is not only what you eat, an all-new OPA'S Corner, and for history, we'll be talking about the weird world of body brokers, and more funny Norm Macdonald clips, memes, and much more, so subscribe and stay tuned. As always, I'd like to introduce my great insightful co-host, Mr. Jake Grant. Welcome, Jake.
Yeah, we jumped the gun there. I popped on a little early, but hey, man, it's great to be here. What's up?
Glad to have you, man. Just hanging out with, I don't know if you can see my kitty Charlie over here. He's sleeping. Oh, he's not happy. Okay. Yeah, we've just been hanging out. What about you, man?
Oh, just been kicking it. You know, it's thawed out here where we're at just recently. So I know it thawed there down in Texas like the day after that big ice snow or whatever.
Yeah, it seemed to go over this whole country. It was like frozen at one point. It's crazy.
We're going to be covering that kind of stuff, man. Directed energy weapons, weather modification. Why is the electric vehicle shutting down? A whole bunch of interesting stories this week. It's going to be good.
All right, man. Well, let's dive in.
All right, and now it's time to go over the carefully selected stories that have been chosen to manipulate your emotions and thinking. Nah, I'm just kidding, guys. That's CNN and NBC and like every other mainstream media. But no, in all reality, we do tailor these videos because we try to link a common thread between a lot of these different topics. And hopefully you guys can kind of see what we're trying to reveal, which is that there's more to meet the eye in the world. And, entering into this year, a lot of us, I know, felt like this. I know I felt a little bit like this. No, I'm not. Let me take that back. Not a little bit. I felt a lot of bit like this, right? Leaving 2019 and entering into 2024, what a great depiction of the kind of ride we're going on. And man, there are so many things that kind of make you start looking like these people down here, the heroin junkies from that one movie with Samuel Jackson and his Royal Crown burgers. So whenever it comes to sharing some of these things, this is oftentimes how some of us can feel when you can't decide whether to post something positive for once or to keep exposing uncomfortable truths people should know. Bravo 6, I'm going dark. Man. So let's start off with one that's kind of funny and kind of explains the insanity of the world we live in today. Jeremiah, do you remember ever playing that Oregon Trail road in school?
Yeah, I remember playing.
Yeah, when you would die from rattlesnakes or starvation trying to get to Oregon on that like little click, text-based game in the school classroom. Yeah. Well, check this one out. Have you heard of people ever dying of diversity? Well, just recently, some airline shenanigans has caused this to almost be the death of some people. Check out this first clip of the DEI Airlines with United.
What a great promo.
What a great promo of the diversity that we offer at United. We hire people that aren't competent enough to land the plane, but they do have colorful pride flags on their lapel. Oh, man. For more in-depth breakdown, check out this next video.
In Miami, Florida, a Boeing 747 burst into flames shortly after takeoff.
Oh my god, it's on fire!
It's rainbow color.
Sorry. It's on fire! Mom!
Now, the Daily Mail reported they found a softball-sized hole above the engine as a flight immediately turned around after catching fire, as fortunately all 5 on board survived. Now, this is an older discontinued model from Boeing, but this does bear shocking similarities as the Boeing 737 that recently had its door plug randomly flying off during flight, where passengers are apparently being offered $1,500 from Alaska Airlines. As many wonder where this airliner has its priorities at. Now, it is clear that there is an uptick in air travel malfunctions in 2024, which is a huge cause for concern, but I do think it's important that we don't attribute every mistake on diversity, equity, and implosions. I just think it's equally fair that we don't attribute none of the mistakes on diversity, inclusion, and explosions. As we recently saw this American Eagle flight from New York slide off the runway due to snow. But also Japan, who notoriously avoids forced diversity, also had a major crash this month. As Reuters writes, they tragically lost 5. So not every accident can be explained by the lowering standards of aviation in the name of equal representation, but unfortunately from now on, every single incident in the air will result in the question of, did diversity contribute to these deaths? As apparently the CEO of United Airlines previously stated this.
We have committed that 50% of the class of the classes will be women or people of color. And by the way, from all the data I've seen, that's the highest of any airline in the country. One of the things we do is for every job when we do an interview, we require women and people of color to be involved in the interview process, bringing people in early in their careers as well.
Which is shockingly close to the CEO of OceanGate, who's really only known for the catastrophe under the sea.
When I started the business, one of the things you'll find, there are other sub-operators out there, but they typically have gentlemen who are ex-military submariners, and you'll see a whole bunch of 50-year-old white guys. I wanted our team to be younger, to be inspirational. And
now, did diversity specifically implode that sub? Obviously not. But it does bring into question, if the CEO wasn't so caught up in making a feel-good story behind the company, would they have had more time to focus on other non-essentials, like safety, survivability, and the things that actually matter when going toe-to-toe with King Trident? Because unlike Netflix and Disney, when airliners emphasize equity over ability, it's not like their ratings drop, their airplanes do, on fire with people inside. As recently, this argument between a veteran pilot and an air traffic controller went viral.
Yeah, when you ask for a short approach, I expect you to turn your base to beam the numbers.
Alright, this one will be a full stop for 6-5 Charlie, and maybe we need to talk about that some more because you're the first controller in 15 years that's ever said that.
Well, I'm just, if you ask for a short approach is when you turn your base to beam the numbers.
Well, I will definitely look up the definition of short approach because I've never seen where it says you turn base to beam the numbers, because I don't see how you could possibly do that.
Well, I Googled it, actually. I Googled short approach, and it said to turn your base abeam or before the numbers, and you will land probably touchdown around midfield.
And this is downright terrifying to me, because I know these places are barely ramping up their diversity numbers. Because what happens when there isn't an experienced pilot to counteract her Google search? What happens when there's no longer an adult in the room to actually fly the plane safely? Because you know who doesn't care about the color or gender of your team? Gravity. But for some reason, these airlines keep highlighting diversity as if this is what makes travelers choose them over competitors. And Delta isn't the only one, as Southwest has basically the same social media strategy. And sadly, they think this is some triumphant moment for inclusion, but it's actually just the footage they'll play alongside every accident their airline has from here on out. And in all fairness, is what the social media team does actually impacting the flights you're on? Most likely not. But it does make you curious about what they're actually doing behind the scenes, as this unverified image of a pilot recently went viral, as she apparently boasted about failing a check ride, but still became a pilot. Now, I had to look it up, but a check ride is the FAA's test for aspiring aviators, which the Twitter community note states about 20% do fail the test, but still come back to pass it, becoming a certified pilot. So like many viral moments online, they get taken out of context as a spread, but one possible false positive doesn't mean the issue isn't occurring. As even back when Tucker was on Fox, he discussed the issues with DEI impacting flying.
But his death is a scandal. The reason he died is a scandal, and many in the aviation industry know about it, but it is never mentioned in public. In February of 2019, Aska was the first officer piloting an Amazon Prime cargo jet for a contractor called Atlas Air. They were flying a Boeing 767. As Aska accidentally pressed a switch that put the plane into go-around mode. Instead of checking his instruments to figure out what was going on, he pushed down hard on the control yoke. He pushed as hard as he could. And then the plane nosedived through the clouds and right into the water. One pilot later told the NTSB that in emergencies, Aska, quote, became extremely anxious and would start pushing a lot of buttons without thinking about what he was pushing just to be doing something. Airlines like Atlas Air, in fact, all the airlines, are doing their best to hire and retrain pilots on the basis of irrelevant criteria like their appearance. Here's from the Atlas Air website, quote, "We leverage diversity, equity, and inclusion, DEI, as a business strategy and driver of innovation."
Which is why the meme of, "you have died of diversity," is now catching steam. Now, I'll be the first to say, I think diversity can be a good thing, and if you, the viewer, aren't also a rooftop Korean with a Lego man haircut and an aversion to enunciating your R's, if you're still watching this channel, you also somewhat appreciate diversity, but our issue with corporate diversity is the forced equity included, as their soft bigotry of low expectations shows that they don't think they can get equal representation amongst the races without actually counting who they have in order to adjust who they're hiring. And it would be one thing if they just went out and said it, "We want less whites," which is essentially what they're doing, but Boeing is going entirely too far, as their 2023 Global Equity Report shows they have over 40% minorities, up 5% from 3 years ago, but also boasting their 7% disabled workforce, highlighting programs like neurodiversity at work. And apparently it's not just Boeing, as the FAA has apparently been hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric issues. And again, I'm the first to say giving the differently abled work opportunities can be seen as a positive thing, but hiring based on corporate vanity can only be permissible when the company is beyond exceeding all expectations. As I remember in college, I worked for a store that had mentally challenged employees, and all they really did was fold boxes and do very small, insignificant odd jobs. But to my understanding, the government gave us funds to employ them, as they did need to have a supervisor to constantly babysit. But the second the economy crashed, those folks were the first to be furloughed. But the problem here is, when Atlas Air bursts into flames, Alaska Air cracks open in the sky, and American Eagle takes passengers suddenly sledding through the snow, can these companies really revisit their budgets to emphasize safety, or would that hurt their precious non-white percentages they've been working over 3 years to build? As I imagine that situation between the veteran pilot and air traffic controller whose specialty is searching things on Google, there are likely many more scenarios just like that that we don't know about. And as these airliners continue to force inclusion in their ranks, we are going to have a lot less veteran pilots that can correct their mistakes. Which brings me to my conclusion, brought to you by my tinfoil beanie from decoyvoice.com, is that this is actually on purpose. As so much of the official liberal agenda is to discourage the peasants from flying due to the climate, what a happy little coincidence that diversity will also discourage the peasants from flying. And if that doesn't work, how about an old-fashioned outbreak from the 1800s, right in the former first world, American airports?
I like that guy.
Oh, yeah, he loves OPA's little theme music. We've played some of his clips before, and I think he ripped you off, OPA. I'm sorry, man.
What's interesting is that lately I've been watching the whole air disaster series.
He's been obsessed with it.
All 22 seasons of air disasters. And it goes through and shows all of these different air crashes from, I guess the 1990s on up to now. And a lot of those that you saw in that video there, I watched on air disasters.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's crazy, Jeremiah. It's like we've transitioned from gender identity dysphoria to career identity dysphoria.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, no wonder people are now having almost died of diversity. And before we move on, every once in a while, somebody in Hollywood says some pretty based stuff. And this is a friend of popular actor Adam Sandler. He appears in many of his movies. And he said this. This is Rob Snyder. And he said, "Dear Scott Kirby, CEO of United Airlines and drag queen practitioner, I regret to inform you that I will no longer allow my family to fly on your airlines, as you have clearly placed diversity of pilot hiring above safety of passengers and crew, as evidenced by the new aviation catastrophe of UA Boeing 777 Flight 1722 from Maui to San Francisco. Where your diverse, incompetent flight crew didn't know which flaps were causing its near disastrous descent, coming within 750 feet of killing everyone aboard your United Airline. I cannot tell you how many United Airlines employees have personally thanked me for my valid criticism of your careless and life-threatening leadership. I look forward to your swift dismissal by the UA's board of directors before your inane actions caused the deaths of hundreds of men and women and children. After your inevitable firing, you can get back to your true passion, your drag queen performances. Sincerely yours, Rob Snyder." Oh, man. I mean, what a crazy world. And I think more and more people that do have platforms like this calling out the insanity of wokeism and this identity attack on just the populace, allowing people who are mentally unstable just under the name of, inclusion. So it's really good to see. I clicked on Rob Snyder and I looked at some of his stuff because I thought that he really laid it out there, and I see he's posting some good stuff. Like, "Mommy, I think I'm a boy." Well, you're not. So it's cool seeing somebody who's been in movies and has a big platform actually is actively taking a public stance against some of these crazy things. So that made me think, Jeremiah, maybe we should ask guys like Rob Snyder on to be a guest on this show.
I just got done texting Kristen, our manager who books all the shows, to reach out to him. So, I mean, we got some good guests coming up. So I wouldn't be surprised if he agreed to it, but we'll see.
Yeah, that would be amazing. You guys look out. I mean, I think the show is about to really grow, and I'm really looking forward to having more interview segments because really finding people's perspective and kind of getting a well-rounded view of a variety of topics is really what helps you see through a lot of these kind of deceptions and the craziness of the world. But back on the whole topic of job delusion, right? Well, here's an Aristotle quote, which explains kind of what it actually takes to be good at something. You know, not just believing you are something, but it says, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit." And I thought that was a pretty poignant quote. And so that carries us on to our next video here. In Canada, we have the Emergencies Act and Justin Trudeau and his insanity happening up north of the border of here. So check this out.
Breaking news. Unconstitutional. A violation of the Canadian Charter of Rights. That's what a federal court ruled Justin Trudeau's use of the Emergencies Act was. He violated Canadians' charter rights. I'm standing here on Wellington Street. This was the scene that Trudeau used as his justification for one of the biggest overreaches in Canadian history. He had people's bank accounts frozen. And not just for the people who were protesting, anybody who had any kind of a relationship with anybody protesting or fighting back against government overreach ran the risk of having their finances frozen, their bank accounts basically locked. In Ottawa, the police set up checkpoints all around the city. You didn't have the right to travel across town. You had to even show your ID to enter into certain zones in the city. All of this in Canada, where we're supposed to have the freedom to say what we believe and to move about our country freely. The court ruled today that Justin Trudeau trampled all over the rights of Canadians, just as the protesters were being trampled on. Today is a victory for everybody who fought back, who said no to government overreach, no to Justin Trudeau imposing his will on Canadians. Justin Trudeau can never again give lectures about the Charter. He can never again accuse his opponents of violating the Charter. He himself is guilty of violating the Charter rights of Canadians.
Say no to Trudeau. How about that?
Say no to Trudeau. Little victory there for the Canadian people. Some vindication. You know, this goes all the way back to the trucker protests that were happening. And we covered that, of course, when it was happening over a year ago. So, I mean, it's just another piece of the crazy pie, right? And unfortunately, those people's lives were affected, and I don't know how much recompense there will be. And so it's a little like, well, yeah, sure, they're calling them out, but this is what we're seeing. People like the WEF and the UN and the WHO, they encourage and want things like this level of control and manipulation of the people through government powers to continue. And you know, we're seeing through all these deceptions, and we even see it here in the U.S. So check out this next, which is a compilation clip from Timcast talking about the feds being caught spying on Trump supporters, tracking Bible sales, and MAGA GOP expose. Check it out.
U.S. government asked banks to flag private transactions, including MAGA or Trump purchases of Bibles. This is wild. The U.S. government asked financial institutions to filter private customer purchases using terms including MAGA, Trump, as part of a January 6th investigation. Perhaps most shockingly, they also asked for a warning of purchases of religious texts, including the Bible, that could indicate extremism, according to the letter from to the former director of the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, Noah Bischoff, from the House Judiciary Committee and its subcommittee on the weaponization of the federal government. House Judiciary Committee Chair Jim Jordan posted the letter on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter, writing, "We now know the federal government flagged terms like MAGA and Trump." Well, okay, so we don't need to read the quote. We know it. He also says, if you were shopping at Bass Pro Shop. This doesn't seem, in my opinion, like they're just trying to find criminals. It seems more like they are building a profile database.
100%.
Yes.
They're going to have a list of, look, man, we often joke that Facebook knows when you poop. And the reason I bring that up is because it brings a little levity to the situation. But we are entering the era of pre-crime. You guys you've seen my Minority Report, right? I love this movie because it's like, I think it's a Philip K. Dick novel or story, and then it gets turned into a movie. And the idea is they get lucky. In the DC area, they find 3 psychics and they plug them into a machine, and then the psychics can predict murder. The reality is you don't need psychics. You don't need magic. They have built these databases that track what you do, what you say, when you say it, and they are building databases and profiles and predictive machines. And it's not just about whether you've done anything wrong, it's whether or not you are a threat to their proposed order. So the reality here is it's actually quite simple. Are they going to come knock on your door and arrest you because you bought a Bible or went to Bass Pro Shop? No. But are you going to get denied that loan for your small business? Yes. Are you going to get higher points for your interest rates when you try to buy a house? Yes. Are you going to fail when are your kids going to be rejected from certain schools? It's going to be subtle. They're not going to come outright and be like, we reviewed your score and the federal government's spying on you, finding out that you went to the Bass Pro Shops. No. They're going to be like, okay, let's try and see if the loan, we can get you a loan on that house, and you've been denied. And you'll say, why? I'm like, it just says you've been rejected. Sorry, have a nice day. And it's going to be because of things like this.
So this made me think of one of the things that I saw right after the announcement of the Iowa caucuses. Joy Reid came right out and said, look at all of those white Christians in Iowa. And was just demonizing people because of their religion and because of the color of their skin. There's no mincing words about it anymore. It is clearly and openly. I think she was talking about whether or not people would go for Nikki Haley, and I think that was that's the context of mentioning it. But even still, the idea that they're talking about people that bought Bibles. They're going to start focusing on religious people, and they're going to start making people that have any kind of religion that is not approved by the state. They're gonna demonize people, and it's not gonna be
social credit score.
Well,
it's everything.
Yeah,
you're gonna get pulled over more. So when there's people are getting screened at airports, it's gonna be things like this. You're going to go to the airport, and you're going to be going through, and they're going to be like, you're fine, you're fine. The alarm went off. This happened to me during Occupy Wall Street. It happened to James O'Keefe. This is funny. With James, he gets the 4 S's on his boarding pass. And then people are like, yo, they're saying you're like a terror threat. That was really funny because, during Occupy Wall Street, when I was traveling, the same thing happened to me. I'd have 4 S's. And they actually, I kid you not, they stole a USB drive from me. And had nothing on it. It's just really weird. That what pissed me off the most about it is that it was really expensive. Back then, these we're talking 10 years ago. If you wanted to get 128 gigabyte USB flash drive, I mean, these are like $100 plus, super expensive. And so I have it in my bag. I'm going through security. They stop me and say, you've been randomly chosen for a screening. And I'm like, that's not true.
It's not random.
They pull me off to the side and say, you're going to have to wait here while we screen you. And I was like, I can't see my bag. And they're like, your bag's fine, sir. When I got my bag, expensive USB was gone from it. And they said, well, I don't know what you're talking about. And that's it. So it's going to be things like this. You're going to be trying to go, you're going to walk through, you're going to go to a venue. They are constantly going to put roadblocks in your way because the issue is not that they will lock you up as an individual. The issue is they want life to be 5% harder for anyone who supports Trump and 5% easier for anyone who does what they want them to do. And then in the long run, people will move towards the path of least resistance and give in and give them what they want. You'll make choices every day where you say something like, do I really want to go to Bass Pro Shop? If I do, I'm going to get a social credit score ding. I'll just go to the mall or something. You're going to want to buy a Bible? If I buy a Bible, I'm not going to buy one. I'll just see if I can get an old one somewhere else. These are the pressures they're going to put on you so that they can control what you do and what your kids do.
Okay, so, I mean, I think they put it together there pretty well that they've been pushing this agenda to make it just a little inconvenient to be a conservative or somebody who has ideals that they disagree with, so that over the course of time, people will start to tend towards the path of least resistance. And just to reconfirm what is being said, which really it paints the picture of exactly what we saw in Canada, where they were implementing some social control measures, kind of looking over the sea there to China and their social credit score thing, salivating at the mouth, wondering if we can implement that in the Western world. They're doing it, of course, up in Canada, as we saw with the previous video of what Justin Trudeau did during some of those protests. Now we're seeing it happen here in the United States, just as we predicted on our show as we covered those events. But it's really happening, guys. I mean, we know the federal government, this is Representative Jim Jordan, flagged terms like MAGA and Trump to financial institutions if Americans complete transactions using those terms. That sounds like literally a very similar, like, Justin Trudeau type thing. Like, oh, they showed up to the protest, freeze their bank accounts. That's not a Canadian accent. Whoops.
Sorry.
Sorry. What was also flagged if you bought a religious text like a Bible or shopped at a Bass Pro Shop? Man, this is insanity. And so just having this documentation proving that our government is being used for ulterior motives to coerce the general populace's mindset, I mean, we knew it was happening, but now it's in paperwork, right?
Yeah. Jim Jordan is a great American, by the way. Probably one of my favorite congressmen.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a few golden nuggets in the swamp, so to speak. People who actually seem to be revealing things that are pertinent and not, turning the blind eye and just trumping up certain topics that are, viral hot tamales or whatever. Anyways, moving on to another topic, we have the border situation in Texas, and some footage coming out of how people are being helped through the border. And so I wanted to show this clip just to show the situation at the southern border.
Is that barbed wire lifted?
Yes.
What is going on there?
Biden administration is getting slammed from every side about how they're dealing with the crisis at the southern border.
Good.
But I wanted to look at this video just for a second and take a alternative neural pathway in thinking about the situation that we're witnessing. Think about it. If you have thousands of people, right, on the border, and there's barbed wire, and their goal is 100% they're coming into America, and they're going to cross that border whether you lift that fence or not, part of me thinks that whoever had that tractor lift up that barbed wire was simply going, look, these people are coming here whether we like it or not. I mean, they're in bulk, they're determined, they're not going home. So we would rather lift this barbed wire fence and save having to, facilitate medical aid for hundreds and hundreds of people that are ripping themselves to shreds crawling through this barbed wire mesh. And so they were like, look, they're coming here anyways. I don't want to deal with their medical issues. Let's just let them pass the barbed wire and we can deal with them on the other side. It kind of makes me think that's what's happening here. Even though, this has been painted all over the news as like, oh, look, Biden's like letting them in. And in a way, don't get me wrong, they are. But I just wanted to take a moment, to look at that other perspective of maybe this is just a scene of somebody going, look, I want to be merciful to these people and keep them from ripping their flesh off their bones, So I don't know, like, it's just the situation is crazy, and I think the dichotomy there between the left and the right is, illegal entry and illegal aliens are being encouraged and welcomed and given almost a justification for making the journey, which in a way it discourages people from attempting to do the process legally and through the proper channels, because immigration is fine. I mean, people who have the desire to come and work and live and operate by our society's norms and customs, by all means, that's even a scriptural precedent, to treat the foreigner among us with kindness and generosity, and to not treat them evilly, right? But there's also the concept that there are agendas being fulfilled by masses of immigrants being flooded into this nation, going straight to cities that are liberal hive mind centers, and then these people are then being used to push and further not only interesting diversity agendas, but also a whole host of political, money laundering schemes and all this kind of stuff that ties into this topic. Any thoughts on you guys down there in Texas? Any thoughts, Jeremiah?
Well, I think doing it legally is the best way to go, because if you're illegal, it's harder for you to get a job. It's harder for your kids to go to school. It's harder just to live if you're illegal. But if you do all the steps to become a legal, American, you get so many more benefits than you would if you were to just hop over and not have any rights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's hard to get a job
too.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts.
Yeah. All right. So this next clip is a climate change expert being stumped by the simplest question imaginable. Check this out.
Panelists, what percent of our atmosphere is CO2?
Repeat that question.
What percent of our atmosphere is CO2, carbon dioxide?
About 5%.
5?
We'll go 7.
I'll see their 5 and suggest that we know that transportation causes 49% of CO2, so that's why we're all working on energy transition.
All right. So what number do you think it is?
5.
5. Do you have one, Mr. Boyd?
So we got a 5, 7, 8. I'm going to get the high end.
All right. The answer is 0.04%. Not 1%, not half of a percent. 0.04%. It's gone up from 0.03 in the last couple of decades. This is what we're being all contorted into doing, is this tiny change in CO2. If we get below 0.02, plant life starts dying.
So these people in government don't even know the actual percentage that carbon dioxide is in the atmosphere, are trying to push through legislation controlling the green agenda thing being rolled out. And man, it really shows how it's a groupthink mob mentality, and it's not based on rational thought. And it's just like seeing clips like that always reminds me that as long as you are willing to do a little digging, you can uncover the facade that justifies the whole agenda, because it's really not buried that deep often enough. But the green agenda has justified organizations like NASA implementing their weather control measures. Check this out.
125,000 acres of nothing.
They even had to move 5 cemeteries, because the noise they were planning on making would wake the dead. Don't worry if you can't hear what I'm saying. I couldn't even hear myself. This is the loudest sound you could possibly conceive. And, as it turns out, the cleanest. Now, the most amazing thing is that that cloud up there, which was generated by the engine, is just a mixture of hydrogen and oxygen. It's water vapor. And in about an hour's time, someone in Mississippi is going to get wet washing. It will actually rain. I told you! It's raining! That's unbelievable! Oh. NASA's playing God. It's making its own weather.
So they can do that, but they can't predict the weather correctly? What's going on here?
Well, you know, I think to me it just demonstrates that they have the desire and the technology to influence weather patterns and do all this stuff, and they're using the green agenda, this whole climate change agenda, to kind of you know, bolster their pockets and garner support from the world so that they can play God. And then what happens is when they play God, they mess up. They mess with God's creation and screw people over. That not only are they making these crazy weather patterns, but they're aware that the things that they're pushing because of the green agenda, like electric vehicles, is not going to turn out as happy and go lucky as we all have been sold. I mean, just recently with the winter storm that we all, you know, experienced across the United States, check this out. 95% of electric cars are still on the road. The other 5 made it all the way home. The joke there is that these electric cars that we are so heavily pushed the last year and a half all failed during these extreme weather conditions. And so here's some more picture. You know, the crazy winter storm we had down, you know, throughout the U.S. You had the AT-ATs had to come out just to get across parts of Texas. You know, people down in the South don't know how to drive on snow.
Excuse me? That's rude.
Put your wipers up, they said. It'll prevent them from freezing, they said. Well, when this comes through, you know, you have people like up in Michigan and stuff. They know how to clear the roads, but, you know, there's a yeah, right here. So, I mean, and then you have like down in Texas, the city of Austin, this is like their snow removal vehicle, right? Because they never get snow. And so they weren't prepared. And so I saw videos of cars crashing and all kinds of stuff. And so they look at these extreme weather things and they're like, oh, green climate change. But then at the same time, they're like seeding the air and the clouds with chemtrails and causing these drastic weather patterns, making a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's kind of what is just like so frustrating. But if they are creating a self-fulfilling prophecy, you'd think that they'd prepare for the unfortunate truth of reality. Well, it looks like they actually are. Why, in this next clip, does NASA have so many old cars, guys? Check out this.
Okay, this is a bit creepy. Let me know what you guys think. So, why does NASA have all these old school cars? My thoughts are, they're cars without computers in them. All from the 1970s. They're preparing for an EMP blast. What's odd is they're not just old school NASA cars. Here's a news car. They have a whole fleet from NASA vehicles, semi-trucks, ambulances. Perhaps this is where that $50 million a day budget is going. Because we all know it's certainly not getting us into space. Collectors of CGI videos and apparently old school cars. Let me know what you think they're using them for. Question everything, friends. Until next time.
The only thing I could say about that, in my mind, I was like, well, they could be doing it for like a movie or something, but then why would they have all those generations of decades of cars? Like, it wouldn't make sense if they were filming a movie, you know, at quote NASA. It just doesn't make sense. Very weird.
Oh yeah, yeah. It is interesting. I mean, maybe they were like, well, we're turning the temperature down to freak everybody out. All the electric vehicles are going to shut down, so we got to get around somehow, you know. But I mean, it's not only seeding the clouds, changing the weather, it's chaotic destruction of places using directed energy weapons, acting like a god from the sky throwing his lightning bolt down. Once again, check out this next clip.
Street. What the is that, dude? What? That's it. Explosion.
Now, we covered this when we talked about the Maui fires and how people saw these lasers coming from the sky, and you can tell it's not a ground. It's, you know, I was a kid. I had a green laser, you know, even in the Philippines. I got fortunate and found a black market, like, really big laser that, you know, you're not supposed to be able to get your hands on, but I happened to have, you know, 2,000 pesos and, you know, got my hands on it, and that thing was bright, man. That thing could shine for miles.
I may or may not have one too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
May or may not, right?
Yeah.
Like alleged ownership. But anyways, you know it's not coming from the ground because you can see the angle of the laser moving across. Like just look at that clip. The angle is coming from the heavens to Earth. And we're surprised when people are like, yeah, they burned Maui down to make way for smart cities and ultra elite bunker people to move there and oust everybody else, you know. So how are we surprised?
What the is that, dude? What?
Yeah, that's
it.
That's definitely coming from way up above.
You guys remember Star Wars? The Death Star?
Yeah.
It's like they were like, hey, know what's a good idea? That movie, Star Wars, where they blew stuff up with this ball in the sky. Let's make our own ball in the sky and shoot the same green laser down and blow stuff up. You know? Oh, man. So, you know, that to me is just insane. But if not that, there's also these other ways of pushing through chaos. And if they're not using weather, if they're not using the green agenda, they're using the medical fear-mongering man in white lab coat God complex agenda. Check out this clip of Disease X being warned of at the WEF.
And anything happening is a matter of when, not if. So we need to have a placeholder for that, for the disease we don't know. That may come. And that was when we gave the name Disease X. High-income countries were surprised because their investments in the last many decades was on high-tech technology, cutting-edge technology in tertiary services, even robotic surgery, but their investment in primary healthcare was not there. Even some countries couldn't do contact tracing. So to prepare countries, I think renewed commitment to strengthen primary healthcare is very important. So
Don't do it. Too late.
Hope everything turns out okay.
Look at this repeating text. It's infectious as measles, as deadly as Ebola. Get that in your head, because disease X is on the way, and our solution is to turn you half alien lizard, and that way your body can fight back. But it's okay. Now that you're half Lucifer's servants, you can now be one of us, and you will ascend to godhood as you buy your prescription medications to deal with the side effects. You know? Oh, man. So we of course see you know, the next wave is being prepped. The indoctrination and dissemination of malinformation from the WHO and WEF and all these other powers that be is starting to ramp up again, because, you know, they got to keep it fresh in your mind, what happened in 2020, 2021, so that the next wave where they have this, you know, killer come, will justify even more drastic measures, taking away more and more freedoms. And then, you know, when you participate in this medical experiment because you're scared for your life and you trust the God in the white lab coat, you know, it comes to mind, you know, treat the symptom, not, you know, don't cure the problem, is how pharmaceutical companies become so rich. And then I saw this. I wanted to share. When was the last time you heard someone say, I'm on all these prescription medications and feel amazing? I mean, usually they all come with so many side effects that make you a lifelong patient, and that keeps that green flowing straight into their pocket. So anyways, why am I sharing this variety of ways that they're, you know, terrorizing and manipulating and controlling the world, not only ideologically, with our weather, with our medical industry? It's because it's all about order out of chaos, baby. Check out this next clip.
They create chaos,
and
they create control.
Over the world headquarters in Switzerland of the World Masonic Headquarters for World Freemasonry, over the door is Ordo ab Chao, which is Latin for order out of chaos. And all Freemasons know that term, Ordo ab Chao. Order out of chaos. The concept is to create chaos, to create the problems. Then while the people are frightened to death of all the crime and everything that seems to be out of control, a riotous situation, the government then moves in with justification. In order to put down this terrible chaos, they must have full power of the military, full obedience of the people, to give the government full power to do whatever they want. That's why we're having all over the world wars, riots, bloodshed, famines, all kinds of things happening around the world. It's being manipulated. It's being orchestrated, not just for Los Angeles.
It's conflict control.
Conflict control.
There's been more wars since the creation of the United Nations.
People need to wake up and discover who is running their government, what the symbols of government mean, what these emblems mean. When they see the national coat of arms, the flags, the emblems, the seals, the symbols, all of these things mean something. Educate yourself. Find out where it came from. That's the only hope I see for the human race, is the human race itself waking up to find
order out of chaos. Jeremiah, what do you think about that?
I think it's interesting. I mean, it sounds pretty scary, but
yeah, it's the term the Hegelian dialectic, which is you present an issue, people beg for a solution, and then you're the one with that solution ready on the sidelines.
Just
and
like
so, yeah, just like today, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And just like they mentioned in the video, what brings more chaos than war? And I want to share this video because when I watched it for the first time, I got chills because it almost felt like witnessing something biblical, honestly. just the vibe I got when I watched this. Check out the people of Yemen, thousands and thousands, singing in the streets, "We don't care if it's World War or not. Bring it on," right? Or what does it say? They say, they say, as they chant in the streets, "We do not care, make it World War," as if they're beckoning for what we're all dreading. Man, I mean, what a chilling scene. And we see tensions rising in the Middle East. We see division in the Western world behind who to support, too. I mean, you think it's just going to be like, oh, you know, Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Hamas. No, well, it's going to be liberal goober who supports the guy who, you know, would behead you for being LGBTQ, whatever, but just because you hate Israel and all this, you support them, but only because you're over here with the freedoms of speech and expression in the West that have allowed you into your sodomy, crazy, downward depraving spiral. Check this out. Leftist media gave 0 seconds of coverage on the violent pro-Hamas riot that swarmed the White House gates over the weekend. And we're seeing numerous times that the mainstream media is propping up and encouraging people to, you know, side with extremists like Hamas. And we think, how could a world war be possible? Well, it's when neighbor turns against neighbor. It's when ideologies can no longer coexist in a environment like the United States has allowed to exist. And where people go, it's either, you know, you or me, and that's how we see people being pent up and being pressed and pushed towards this point by the people who want to create order out of chaos. And then of course you have scenes like we saw in Yemen there, where they're just like, we do not care if it's World War, make it a World War. And I don't think people in the West are mentally prepared for you know, what's coming on the world. People have a very different mindset in the Middle East. They're aware of this volatility, and I think we're thinking we can play the fence, and that's why people feel so comfortably like, oh, the evils of Israel, and oh, Hamas, they're just fighting back against the oppressors. And then, you know, of course you have even the deceptive nature of the invasion, where it seems to be that there are forces allowing these tragic events to then justify repercussion and allowing, you know, in the invasion of Gaza, you know, the intelligence force. So it's not just one side or the other. It's such a smorgasbord of deceptions and insanity. So, with that shared, here's this next video, which is a slight different turn. Just your small dose of monkey spaceball religion indoctrination, and how America might be bringing freedom to one of Saturn's moons very soon.
How come one of Saturn's moons, according to scientists, has more oil and natural gas than Earth? Were there dinosaurs and planktons and forests at one point on one of Saturn's moons? Probably not. So if all hydrocarbons aren't from fossils, where are they from?
The information that is found on the largest moon on Saturn, which is called Titan. Yes. It's actually results from NASA, European Space Agency,
Yes.
and then the Italian Space Agency, who
So
built
don't
this
trust it at all.
spacecraft called Cassini. Basically, the ocean liquid form of methane. Titan is in such a way that it's very cold, by the way. So it's minus 290 degree Fahrenheit.
Yes.
Hint, hint, hint. Where's the global warming there, right? If it's full of methane there, right? That's another problem because it's far away from the sun.
So, I just thought that was a hilarious kind of dig there that Tucker Carlson had. He's like, where's all the fossils and dead dinosaur bones that created all this oil and gas on Titan? And of course, you guys know our cosmological perspective is not the standard. We have very stringent deviations from the classroom model based, on what, these heavenly wandering bodies could be. And, it's just funny seeing things like, holes being poked in the narrative that we've all been taught. Like, oh, we got to stop fracking and getting oil because it's a resource that's destroying the earth. It's a limited commodity, and it's all this kind of stuff. And so this next clip is one way to escape some of the day-to-day effect of this system on our lives, which is the things we put into our bodies. Check this out.
What's a scam that's become so normalized that we don't even realize it's a scam anymore?
The entire United States of America's food system. Oh, you sent your kid off to general public schools? Congratulations, they're going to be fed garbage. Oh, hey, you woke up? Well, we created this random word called breakfast. Go ahead and eat food and spike your insulin and lower your brain-derived neurotropic factor for the day. That's a good start. Don't worry, trust us. We created the Food and Drug Administration. Then you might want to ask yourself, why is the Food and Drug Administration in the same sentence? Well, because if you eat all the foods in the grocery store with all of the ingredients that disrupt your gut microbiome, then you're going to be able to disrupt your brain. You disrupt your brain, you disrupt your body. You disrupt your body, well, guess what? Your body's not going to function the way that it's supposed to function, so you're going to have to go to the hospitals and work with the drug operating centers. Or, I mean, doctors, sorry, or your PCP is going to help you. I mean, your primary creator of prescriptions. All of these things might seem a little bit crazy until you realize that taking control of your life is one of the most important things that you're ever going to choose to do. You start to self-educate, guess what? You become dangerous to the society that we live in, at least the United States of America. Other countries ban chemicals, and we're over here having lawsuits over taste the rainbow. No, taste depression, taste anxiety, taste lower levels of brain-derived neurotropic factor. Taste all of the things that taste really good because they put you in an fMRI machine. They fed you some random foods. Your brain said, and now you have a dopamine-based addiction on your foods. You're not actually eating things because they're healthy. They just taste good and trigger your dopamine. And then maybe like 30, 45 minutes later, you're like, wow, I absolutely feel like crap.
Well put. And that's why I kind of wanted to come to a close in our news segment with something positive and constructive. Is that's how you, in a practical way, can focus on your day-to-day life and the deceptions that you have influencing you and your family currently. And oftentimes it's as simple as just starting with what you eat and what you put into your body. And that's why I wanted to share this. Your diet is not only what you eat, guys. It's what you watch, it's what you listen to, it's what you read, and the people you hang around. Be mindful of the things you put into your body emotionally, spiritually, and physically. And that's why, I find such value in the scriptures and the lessons that we get from applying the law of the Almighty into our life, right? Is you see things like, do not consume these animals, these unclean animals. And these animals are clean and okay to consume. And while it might be very surface level to some, oh, it's just don't eat this, don't eat pig, do eat cow, no big deal, it's simple. It teaches actually a spiritual principle, is that what you put into your body is what creates your temple, right? And so, it's not just the food, it's the mindset, it's the media, it's the thing that builds up your understanding and perspective of the world that turns you into who you are and influences how you act. And so it's not just about food, it's about what we are, who we are, what our goals and purposes. And finally, the last cool video. This is not so much news as a very awesome association with the Hebrew alphabet and the heavens. Check out this final clip.
Could this be true?
The Latin alphabet we use comes from the Greek, which comes from the Phoenician, and if you wrap it around a circle, turn each letter 90 degrees, and combine them into two-letter pairs, you see that our alphabet comes from the stars. Note, however, that these three signs are reversed. These are individually mirrored. Cancer has a basket on its head, and Aquarius is missing. The letter reversals are due to the sun's analemma still present in the alphabet, and that's the figure 8 pattern that the sun draws on the sky each year, and the direction the sun is moving through each sign causes the letter reversals. Untie the alphabet on the 7th of 22 letters. The basket on Cancer's head marks the summer solstice. Aquarius is silent because the early peoples believed his waters to be the underlying fabric upon which all the other signs lived and moved and had their being. And we can answer more questions if we look into the pictographic meanings of each letter, or if we stack the alphabet on a 7-layer cake.
Christians can't bear any of this stuff. They can't hear any of this stuff. They can't hear about the astrological, astrology. They get freaked out. Oh, don't talk to me about that. And yet, in Genesis 1, the very first page, it says, God says, let the stars be for signs. Well, if the stars are for signs, shouldn't you figure out what they mean? Psalm 147 says God named all the stars. Why did he call them Sagittarius and Aquarius and Aquila and Coma? Why did he call them those things? Nobody knows. Do you know the whole Bible was written in the stars before it was ever put on paper? And you can read the Bible by looking at the stars?
I have one of those.
No, you say, well, that's ridiculous. No, it's not. It's true. I say, well, I don't believe...
Yeah, I thought that was super cool, and I know it showed... the ancient, the pictographic, and you can also tie that to the Hebrew. And I want to share that in case anybody in our audience had more information or more resources about unpacking and unlocking the meaning of the heavens and the stars. Because I'm always fascinated in that kind of stuff. I mean, they're for sign seasons and appointed times, and there's something beautiful that has been lost throughout the generations about what the heavens actually depict and the story that they're telling on a nightly basis. And the last thing I wanted to read here was my favorite biblical topic that is not talked about very often. It's a eschatological prophetic moment called the Greater Exodus, and not a lot of Christians hear about it or know about it. And as we see these things happening in the world today, this is the event that, to me, gets me excited and wondering what could happen as the world falls apart, because I think things like this could happen amidst the chaos that the New World Order is trying to create. And so it says this: it's the regathering of Israel, and it says, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria and from Egypt and from the Pathos and from Cush and from Elam and from Shinar and from Hamath and from the lands of the sea. He shall set up a sign for the nations and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. And so like I see things like this, and I think it just sounds so like interesting how there's a plan for the people of the Almighty, even amidst the destruction of, like, for example, the book of Revelation and the prophetic coming day of the Lord, because we know they're ramping up and they're feeding into the flames that are going to destroy the world and decimate mankind. But there is a plan for those who are set apart, those who are choosing to walk after the ways of the Almighty, and there's a preservation factor where they'll be saved from the destruction of the world. And so, I love to remind myself of these as an encouragement, towards the end of this news segment. It's always important to remind ourselves, what's the hope in all the depressing news? Well, is that there's a purpose and a plan for your life. And the wisest man of all time said, let this be the conclusion of the matter, that the whole purpose of man is to serve Yah, fear Yah, and to keep his commandments. And so that it's just such a beautiful, crystal clear thing that, the system, all this media, all the things we consume are trying to distract us from these very important bullet points of what our role is here in this realm that we live in. So with that said, all right, Jeremiah, that's all the news for this week. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Jake. Well said, and you're the best. And thank you for another great current news as always. Now I want to share with you guys our newest product, the Skiba Family Book Bundle. So check this out.
We are proud to announce the Skiba Family Book Bundle, where you will receive a signed copy of Rob Skiba's best-selling book, Babylon Rising, a signed copy of Sheila Skiba's best-selling expose, The Protocol That Kills, and a signed copy of Jeremiah Skiba's book, Never Got to Say Goodbye. There's only a limited number left, so make sure you click the link in the description below.
So you'll not only get a signed Babylon Rising and a signed one of my books, but a hardcover signed copy of my mom's book, The Protocol That Kills. So you guys should check it out. It's really cool. So anyways, I think, it's about that time for an all-new OPA'S Corner. Take it away, Opa.
Hey, howdy, hey! It's another OPA'S Corner. So let's get started. If inmates could take their own mugshots, what would you call them? Selfies. Two stormtroopers are standing watch when one of them noticed the other has a new iPhone. He asks him why he bought an iPhone. The other stormtrooper replied, "I couldn't find the droid I was looking for." It's so cold outside. How cold is it? It's so cold outside that I saw a politician with his hands in his own pockets. A blonde went to a shopping mall. She saw a sign by the escalator that said, "Dogs must be carried on this escalator." She spent the next 2 hours looking for a dog. I saw a blonde trying to steal gas from a Tesla. She was charged with battery. A guy asks a girl to go to a dance. She agrees, and he decides to rent a suit. The rental has a long line, so he waits and waits, and finally he gets his suit. He decides to buy flowers, so he goes to the flower shop. The flower shop has a long line, so he waits and waits until he finally buys flowers. He picks up the girl, and they go to the dance. There's a long line into the dance, so they wait and wait. Finally, they get into the dance, and the guy offers to get the girl a drink. She asks for punch, so he goes to the drink table. And there's no punch line. A man walks into a library and asks the librarian for books about paranoia. The librarian whispers, "They're right behind you." A boy brought home his report card to show his parents how well he did in math class. His report card showed a 90 out of 100 for his math grade. His father was ecstatic. However, his mother knew he was terrible at math and thus simply couldn't believe he got a 90 out of 100. She looked closely at the report card and noticed that the 9 and the 0 looked to have different handwriting styles. She immediately became suspicious. "Son, tell me, did you add a 0 to the end of your grade?" "No." "I'm going to ask you again. Did you add a 0 yourself?" "No, Mom. I didn't add the 0. Fuming, the mom cuts him off. "Okay, since you're not telling me the truth, you're grounded for 1 month. "No, Mom, please! I swear I didn't add the 0. This is your last chance. Tell me the truth.
I didn't add the 0. I added the 9.
If at first you do not succeed, skydiving's not for you. Words of wisdom. When one door closes, another door opens. Boeing. A blonde goes to the movies. She buys a ticket. After 5 minutes, she goes back to the ticket agent and buys another ticket. 5 minutes later, she buys another ticket. After a few minutes, she buys again another one. When she returned for the 8th time to buy another ticket, the agent asked her, "Why do you buy single tickets? If you're a group of people, you can buy all the tickets at once." The blonde looked at the agent with surprise and replied, "No, I'm alone, but there at the entrance when I give my ticket to the controller, he tears it." I ordered a chicken and an egg from Amazon. I'll let you know. Shelby says it's now time for the funnies. Look at us waking up at the same time again.
By the way, we're playing cards with the Millers tonight, and Edna says if you promise not to use your X-ray vision, Warren promises not to bring his kryptonite.
Dudeson's wickets. Well, it came from your division, Sanders, and as you can see, it's covered with honey and molasses. You know what that makes this, Sanders.
All right, who's sprinkled on the floor?
Hold it. There's a car across the street. You sure you weren't followed, Mary? Yep. I started out as a dog groomer.
Hey, what's up with you guys changing UFO to UAP?
That's a good question.
Chief say, someone here walk through Buffalo Field. And what would you like to refuse to eat today?
Yep.
Save up to 50% off and more, irregardless of our already bestest prices. Go easy on her, officer. She's an English teacher. I wonder what happened to the sun.
If you hadn't declawed me, I'd be able to scratch through those ropes. Pity.
This morning, I had to mess with the toilet paper shed on a pair of black pants, and knock over a coffee mug. I can't do all the work myself, Clarence. Sorry. I'll handle the barf duties. Captain Ruru. God help us all. 10th Annual Psychics Conference. For the most part, the meeting was quite successful. Only a slight tension filled the air, stemming from the unforeseen faux pas of everyone showing up in the same dress. Okay, when I say draw, we draw. Ready? 1, 2, 3, straw. Okay, just checking your ears. 1, 2, 3, claw. Okay, drawbridge. I like it. I like it. The fridge and dishwasher are over there. And over here is the range where the deer and the antelope, you know. This isn't what I had in mind when I said I wanted to be Iron Man. Great. Already running late, and then this happens. I like this quote. Be kind. Everyone you meet is fighting a hard battle. What's your battle? Fighting my feelings of sadness whenever the human is away. How about you? My battle is with a piece of string. Okay. Good talk. I keep writing Stone Age instead of Bronze Age on all my checks. Ray guns don't vaporize Zorbonians. Zorbonians vaporize Zorbonians. How I use this make fire, Pa? Not understand. Make sticks go together fast. Sheesh, Doc. This not rock science. Listen, you want to go extinct? You want them to shoot and trap us into oblivion? We're supposed to be animals, so let's get back out there and act like it! Why do we say doggy and horsey and piggy, but not cowy?
That's a good question.
Let me get this straight. You do no work around here, yet you get food, attention, and a private indoor bathroom. Whoever finds him here will just think he fell off the ladder. Brilliant, boss, brilliant. Aliens faking the Earth landing in 1969. Charlie, are you enjoying the show?
Yeah.
Well, that concludes another OPA'S Corner.
Mein Hut, der hat 3 Ecken. 3 Ecken hat mein Hut. Und hat nicht 3 Ecken, dann ist es nicht mein Hut.
OPA'S Corner is now available on my own YouTube channel. Like, share, and subscribe.
So make sure you subscribe to OPA'S Corner. Thank you, OPA, for another great OPA'S Corner. Now a word from our good friend and sponsor, JJ. Are you tired of living in constant pain? Do you feel like you've tried every CBD product on the market with no relief? Look no further than JJ's Natural CBD Rub. When I was diagnosed with degenerative disc disease, this was the only product that completely took my pain away. Working with JJ has been a dream come true, and his products have completely changed my life. Don't just take my word for it. Visit JJ's website, jjcbdrub.com, and read hundreds of testimonials from people whose lives have been changed by all of JJ's amazing products. And now, as a Skiba News Nation exclusive, you can get $50 off a 3-pack special of JJ's Natural CBD Rub by texting CBD to 920-382-7720. Don't suffer in silence any longer. Take control of your pain today with JJ's Natural CBD Rub. Again, text CBD to 920-382-7720 for an exclusive discount and start feeling the relief you deserve. The links are in the description below. So this week for history, we're going to be talking about something called body brokers. Now, Jake, do you know what body brokers are? Have you ever heard of that term? Opa? Do you know what body brokers are?
Yeah, I've heard the term before, yeah.
Okay, well, we're going to be delving deep into the world of, it's very dark, of body brokers. So let's play this first clip.
The following video may contain upsetting and graphic content. Viewer discretion is advised.
So you want to make a lot of money fast, but going to college, working your way up the corporate ladder, or even doing illegal stuff just isn't your thing. You need something that is a little morally gray, but still perfectly legal. You need something that doesn't require a lot of licenses or money to start, where you can immediately start making a ton of cash. And that's when you stumbled across the opportunity of a lifetime, becoming a body broker.
You're a what?
See, when someone dies and chooses to donate their body to science, a body broker is the person that takes their body, processes it, and sends that body where it needs to go. And before you say, gross, there is no way I'm doing this, know that for every body you collect, you can sell it for at least $5,000. Now do I have your attention? And you don't even need any special licenses or equipment to do it. All you need is a strong stomach and the right connections.
How easy is it for someone to enter this industry? Do you have a Sawzall? You have a garage?
A person with no medical experience, no funeral director's license was able to open up a whole body donation program, take possession of a human body, dismember it, send it throughout the nation without any type of licensing oversight. It's harder to sell hot dogs on a cart than it is to get into this business.
This is the gruesome yet profitable business of body brokers.
Wee!
Now I'll be showing you a clip for this next clip of why body brokers exist and yeah, a little backstory. So let's check it out.
Part of the reason why this industry is so sketchy is because of just how much demand there is for bodies. Doctors need something to study, right? Donating your body versus donating your organs are two very different things. Organ donors donate things like their organs, eyes, skin, and bones to help cure people's diseases and to assist in medical treatments. And to work in the organ donation field, you would need a long list of licenses and certifications. But the most important downside is that you can't sell organs in the US. It's very illegal. However, these rules don't apply to body brokers. Non-transplant anatomical donation, or donating your body to science, is very different. Not only do you not need any licenses to work with body donations, you're also completely free to sell those donated bodies and body parts for as much money as you want. In a perfect world, body donations would go to medical schools, universities, and medical researchers to help them create new medications, to help them create new test tools, and for them to practice complicated surgeries on. Each donated body would be carefully and respectfully processed, and once they had served their purpose, they would be collected, cremated, and the ashes returned to their families. But this isn't a perfect world, and these dead bodies are as good as cold hard cash.
So donating your body and donating your organs are two totally completely different things. And to work in the organ donation field, you have to have licenses and certifications, but being a body broker does not require any kind of qualifications. And just like the root of all evil is the love of money, it's kind of like that. So let's go ahead and play this next clip. Create your own company.
Step number 1, setting up your company. You want to call it something low-key like Science Care or Biological Resource Center. These are real body broker companies, by the way. You want to make it sound vague and as general as possible so you don't sound like you're making money selling body parts. You wanted to make it sound like a highly specialized medical company that will be carefully overseeing the donation of human bodies, instead of a corpse profiteer. Oh, and don't worry about any fancy licenses or regulations.
There are almost no restrictions on who can buy and sell human remains.
We process around 1,000 deer a year for the hunting community. We process bears and anything you can imagine, we process.
Okay. Any humans in here?
We do. We have a few human here that are waiting to be finished.
Oh, wow.
And this is a donor human here. This comes from the human body donor programs.
Once people are dead, they are no better than animals, ready to be dissected and experimented on. But obviously you don't want your customer base to know that, then they might rethink their choice. Which brings us to the next step.
So that was step number 1, called create your own company. Now these individuals, they collect these bodies and, just like I said, with no certification, and they just try to, prey upon people that think that they're doing the right thing. So let's play this next clip, which is step 2, the marketing.
Listen, most people live lives of quiet desperation. They don't pursue their dreams, so they're just yearning for a chance to feel important, especially when they're on their deathbed. And what better way to feel important than to donate your body to advanced medical studies? You have the chance to give an anatomical gift, and I'm just here to provide you with options in your time of need. These are the heartstrings that you want to be pulling on. This is the last great thing you can do with your lives. After all, by donating your body to science, you could be helping a doctor discover the cure for cancer. Wouldn't you want to contribute to curing cancer? Your small sacrifice by signing on this dotted line can change the world forever. There, that will make them feel important. Because remember, each customer will give you a nice $5,000 or more. So you want to put a lot of thought into the marketing here. And whatever you do, you don't want to bore people with the gruesome, harsh reality of what will happen to their bodies after they die. And your ideal customer for this marketing scheme? Why, the old and the poor.
So they take advantage of the poor and the old, and they earn $5,000 for each body, which is insane. So let's move on to the next step, which is get clients. Let's check this out.
So you've got your company ready and you've got your messaging on points. Now all you need is for people to sign up. But here's the thing, no one's gonna sign up for someone to cut their body into pieces if they don't have a guarantee that their ashes will be returned to their families one day. So to get around this, you have to get creative. First, you want to set up the donation paperwork to be so long and complicated so that no one ever reads the fine print about what you'll be really doing with their bodies once they're dead. Then, to make extra sure that no one asks too many questions, you want to target sick old people in hospices and other end-of-life care centers. People on the verge of death don't have time to read paperwork. They don't care about the terms and conditions. They just want to know that their life meant something, that they're still gonna do something great after death. So they sign on the dotted line just like that. But that's not enough. If you want to make real money, you're gonna need more than just one sick old person dying every now and then. You need a steady flow of patients. So next up, you want to target the poor. Here's the thing, the average funeral costs $7,000. Even a simple cremation can cost $1,000.
When I'm dead, just throw me in the trash.
People in poverty can't afford that, so why not offer them a cheaper, more dignified alternative? Donate your loved one's body to science, and we'll even pay for the cremation for you. That way, instead of having to pay a few racks, it won't cost you a cent, and you'll be sleeping easy knowing that your family member's body is being used for something great. And guess what? 9 times out of 10, they always say yes. After all, you are getting these poor families at their worst, at their most vulnerable. What kind of a son or daughter isn't going to give their parent a proper goodbye? Every year, more than 20,000 people donate their bodies to science, either because they think it will make a difference, or because they can't afford the alternatives.
So body brokers, they take advantage of people that just want their lives to matter. I mean, they just want to make a difference in this world, and unfortunately, body brokers target the elderly and their families after their passing. And it's very sad that this is happening, but let's go ahead and keep moving forward on the step 4, partner up.
Okay, so you know how the business works, you know your pitch. Now it's time to guarantee that you have a steady supply of dead bodies. And nowhere will you find a more readily available supply of dead bodies than funeral homes. So here's what you gotta do. Approach funeral homes and offer funeral home directors kickbacks for referring families to donate bodies to you, an affiliate program. Funeral homes already have to constantly reject people who can't afford their services, so instead of sending them home, why not send them to you and get a commission? Maybe you even go a step further and convince funeral home workers to send you bodies without the consent of their families.
And her mother, Shirley Koch, are now under arrest for illegally selling body parts or entire bodies without consent from family members.
Attorneys for the victims called Hess and Koch Body Snatchers. The company was a recognized nonprofit corporation, but earned hundreds of thousands of dollars charging approximately 560 grieving families for cremations that never occurred. Instead of their loved ones' remains, families were given urns filled with sand, concrete, and cat litter.
Think about it, none of the family members are ever gonna figure out that that's not their dead grandma or grandpa's ashes. And if that's not enough, why not just vertically integrate and open up a funeral home yourself? That way you cut out the middleman and do all the body brokering in-house. And with all the supply that you could possibly need, it's time to head on to the easiest step, processing.
Very much like the mafia, I love how they were showing the Godfather and kind of comparing it to that, because it kind of is. It's a sick, dark world. So let's move on to this next step, step 5. It's called process your product.
If you were an ethical body donation company, you would probably invest in specialized equipment, industrial freezers, and experienced employees. But you don't have time for that. So you switch up the medical tools for chainsaws. You buy a few cheap restaurant freezers, and you employ anyone with the stomach to cut up human bodies. The bodies coming into your literal chop shop are nothing more than commodities, with set prices for each parts. A brain goes for $750, a foot for $200, a hand for $250, a head for $500, a leg for $1,300, a torso for $2,100, and a whole body for around $5,000. All you gotta do is embalm the body, cut it up into usable pieces, label and freeze those pieces, and send them out to the universities and hospitals that ordered them. And if you're thinking that this sounds too simple to be true, it really is that simple. With a chainsaw, a freezer, and a couple of cheap chemicals, you can start making money from body donations in just a few weeks. One body donation center literally had a guy defrosting a body with a hose pipe outside. That is just how little regulation there is in this industry. And it's not as if you only sell to universities or med schools. If the military needs a body to test a bomb on, you're their guy.
His mom's body, according to Reuters, was sold to the U.S. military.
She was then supposedly strapped in a chair on some sort of an apparatus, and a detonation took place underneath her.
If some scientists want to dissect a body in front of a paying audience, they come to you. And if some internet creep wants to buy a body or a head for some unknown reason, who are you to judge? Maybe he's gonna cure cancer one day. The minute your donor or their family signed the contract, they handed you total control of how the body is used. Whether it's blown up, chopped into 100 pieces, or it's never properly cremated and returned, no one can hold you accountable because technically, they signed ownership of that body over to you. And with both the law and the money on your side, it doesn't take long before the big bucks start rolling in.
So it's just sick. I mean, our bodies are worth only $5,000 after we're gone, which who knows what our bodies are worth, because our soul is what matters. But after this is our last step. After this, I'll get your thoughts, Jake. So let's play this final clip. Cash in.
This is Jim Rogers. Between 2012 and 2014, him and his wife Josie made more than $12.5 million as body brokers through their company Science Care. Jim said he wanted to turn Science Care into the McDonald's of the body brokering world, where every franchise offered the same quality and prices for parts. In 2016, Jim and Josie sold Science Care to a $1 billion company. The sale included, quote, written pledges for more than 100,000 people to donate their bodies to Science Care when they die, end quotes. Jim was so good at his job that he worked out exactly what it would cost to process a body down to the very last cent. According to him, Science Care was making $677.55, or around $1,000 a day in profits, for every body it processed and sold. By 2011, Science Care was taking in and selling 3,886 bodies a year. So use Jim and Josie's example as a blueprint. They made millions selling body parts in an industry where no one can get arrested. And the best parts? Nothing has changed since Jim and Josie made their millions. No new laws have been introduced, no international outrage, no new licenses you need to apply for. Even after all the gruesome stories that have surfaced, it's still easier than ever to become a body broker.
So, what are your thoughts, Jake?
Man, you know, we've heard about this stuff going on with things like Planned Parenthood and all kinds of different industries where, like, you have people selling organs in the black market, and then just like, I even have a pet peeve that happened to me once where I had the organ donor symbol on my driver's license, and when I went to renew my driver's license, I specifically requested I do not want to be an organ donor. At the office, I called the organ donor people, told them, take me off your list. I don't want it on my driver's license. Guess what? Whenever they send me my driver's license, guess what it had on it?
Organ donor.
Organ donor. Yeah. Even though I specifically requested they take it off, well, it's because there's like this whole market to it, and they hide behind the guise of, oh, you could save a life. You know, if you're in a car wreck and you hit your head, your liver and your brain and your, you know, or not your brain, your head, but
it's basically you're selfish if you don't want to do this. That's how they try to make it.
Exactly.
That's how they attack you. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Opa?
Well, I think organ donors, as opposed to bodies, do have a purpose, because if you need a liver transplant or a heart transplant, I mean, they're valid reasons and valid uses. But body now, where they just take the body and they're not regulated in anything, and they cut it up, and that's terrible.
Yeah, and of course the nightmare would be if you don't actually have life-threatening injuries and you could pull through, and then of course they're like, oh, we got a donor here, let's keep him as a vegetable on the table, act like he's not actually still alive, and then, you know, sell the organs off to the highest bidder insurance company, right?
And there are actually cases of that. There are cases of that happening, that exact thing happening. It's crazy. But I had never heard of the term body brokers until I stumbled upon this, and I just wanted to make everybody aware of, you know, how sick this industry is. I mean, it's like an unregulated thing that they can do. You just sign your rights away to a loved one, and who knows what they're doing with the body. They could make it a marionette puppet. I mean, as sick as that sounds, they could be doing whatever they want with it, you know? So that's all I got for the body brokers, but it's time to laugh because that was pretty dark. So I'm going to play another clip of some of my favorite Norm Macdonald jokes. So let's play this last clip.
Yeah. It's fun doing jokes. Yeah. Why do dogs always race to the door when the doorbell rings? It's almost never for them. You know the funniest part of doing an office conga line? When you look back and realize you're doing it alone and you're not in an office, you're in a psychiatric hospital. I've never been on top of trends, I guess. You know, when everybody was burning CDs, I was still burning books. I'd like to take this moment to say I endorse podiums. That's a product I can stand behind. What about this one? This is for you.
Yesterday I had a picture framed. Now it's doing time upstate for armed robbery.
Hey, how about this? The Dalai Lama said that killing in the name of religion is unthinkable. Hey, thanks, Dalai Lama. I'm sure everybody can listen to you. No one listens to the Dalai Lama. No one. I need to have glasses in order to see my family. Specifically, 2 glasses of scotch.
The Al-Qaeda online magazine Inspire has a recipe for a homemade bomb. They also have a recipe for a pretty darn good peach cobbler.
They're not all bad, you know. A new study found that men with beards are more attractive than men without beards. More great work from the University of Bob Seger.
I think there's nothing cooler than being a lone wolf, except at wolf picnics when you don't have a partner for the wolf wheelbarrow races.
A surname you don't hear much anymore, Flintstone. This one's more like a... Barbara Walters is planning to announce her retirement. What's next for Babs? Death. Well, isn't this wild? When I was told I was going to perform for a bunch of drones, I thought I was being booked on The View. What's up, man?
Okay, Norm, you're Canadian.
My favorite Norm.
So what do you think of this whole presidential mess?
Well, I hope that the Democrats don't steal the election from the winner, you know. But see, I think we should get the homicide out of the White House, a fresh start, because we don't want any more murderers.
I think we should just go on to the next question.
Oh.
Who the murderers? Yeah.
Oh, Clinton, he murdered a guy.
Yeah, you can put out no accusations without.
That's a little too far.
That's the way it does work.
Let's just go on to the next question.
Yeah.
This is not my week. What can I tell you?
You ever read a book? Oh, you read that communist thing?
Yeah, I read the Marxist manifesto.
Who was the better man?
Okay.
Dr. Martin Luther King? Stalin. In my opinion, if you're going to fight the war on terror, a good place to start would be this nation's haunted houses. You know, I may have told you this, but my doctor's getting very rude. The last time I went to him, he said, open your mouth and say oink. I remember, sometimes they get so PC about these things. That movie, The Last of the Mohicans, and they had a big protest. Apparently they weren't using any actual Mohicans. Anyways, white girls who wear big hoop earrings may be guilty of, quote, cultural appropriation. And they risk getting a curse put on them by peeved gypsy fortune tellers. Here's one for you. Here.
Artifacts from Auschwitz are set to go on tour for the first time.
You guys won't stop.
Experts believe that this will be Miley Cyrus's darkest opening act yet.
Wow.
Sorry about my dark sense of humor, but I love Norm so much, and rest in peace. So that's all I got for history. We both got some memes today, don't we?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Well, meme us up.
I know you're a little younger than I am. I've adopted the attitude of the great Negro Leagues, went on to become Negro.
Meme me up.
Let's go lick the world. Let's get it done.
Let's go lick the world. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
Where do bad rainbows go? Prism. It's a light sentence and gives them time to reflect. All right. Here's a cool, it's not a funny, but it's a historical, interesting. In 79 AD, the Roman historian Josephus Flavius wrote that the last of the race of the Egyptian giants did live in the 13th century BC during the reign of King Joshua. He further wrote that they had huge bodies and their faces were so unlike ordinary humans that it was amazing to look at them, and it was scary to listen to their loud voices, which was like a lion roar.
Whoa.
So I thought that was super cool. He said King Joshua. I think Joshua was considered a judge, if he's referring to the biblical Joshua. Came after Moses, but here's a funny one. Everything in this picture is now in your pocket. It's a radio player, a video camera, an FBI agent. In just 8 years, this guy undid a lifetime of work by this guy.
Man, that's depressing.
He also, painted the White House rainbow colors and instituted Sodomy Month and a whole bunch of other stuff.
I wonder if Martin Luther King Jr. were to come back, what he would think about Barack Hussein Obama.
Yep. Yeah, I would be curious. Of course, there are some questions about Martin Luther King Jr.'s life as well. He wasn't a perfect individual, but he's definitely a better figure to look up to than the Big O.
Yeah. None of us are perfect.
Hey, it's an eggplant. Check it out.
That's funny.
Steak. Because you don't make friends with salad. Come on over and have my salad. I don't, unless you're like vegetarians or whatever, and you got a big like mushroom steak and. Ugh, okay. But where is he leading us? To IKEA, Master Gamgee. To the House of Furniture. Did you hear that? IKEA, we're going to see the shelves. Oh, man. I grew up really loving Lord of the Rings. It was interesting to me, the timing of when Lord of the Rings came out. It came out right around the most important time to stir that patriotic bravery and, just heroism that we saw, encouraging men to go to war in the Middle East right after 9/11. Good timing. Great movie series. Best. I don't think they're ever going to overdo the trilogy there. We've shared this one before as well as the other one. Are you sure the V is safe? I have no idea. This is heroin. Doctors, 150 years ago, I mean, it's not too much of a hop and a skip, from the, the early 1900s, smoking's good for even pregnant women.
Mm-hmm.
And then now, this is good for even toddlers, babies down to 6 months old, take our little experiment. With all this rain, we need an ark. Fear not, wait for it. We know a guy. Oh my goodness. Husband, what's for dinner? Wife, nothing. Husband, we had nothing last night. Wife, I know. I made enough for 2 days. So AI is getting way too good, Jeremiah.
Oh
Check
man,
this clip out.
dude, that was one of mine.
Are you serious? I got it.
That's great.
Crazy. Yep, man, it is crazy what AI can do.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe after all the presidential, bouncing around, after Trump gets his next term, like I'm assuming he probably will, and him and Biden are retired from presidenting, they can just sit and, pluck through the garden and go for walks, reminiscing about all the fun times.
I don't think Trump could understand him, neither can I.
Yeah. When someone replies to your meme with another meme, finally, someone who speaks English. I can totally relate to that. Oh, here's a really cool pair of memes. So, in 1953, a worldwide agreement was made based on the idea by the Rockefeller Foundation to change the frequency of music. They changed it from its natural harmonic resonance, 432 hertz, to the current consciousness suppressing 440 hertz, which is a more exaggerated sound. It comes in dissonant to the natural frequencies of the world. But then you look at cathedrals, which windows compared to cymatic sound frequencies, and how this is a science and an understanding that the ancients were tapping into, and sacred geometry tied to frequency and resonance is all very interesting. And just another one of the ways that they cloud our brain. They turn that dial up just a little hair, and it just sets us on edge just a little bit. Yeah, I think I shared this one, but I just love this one about the guessing game for what conspiracy was going to unfold in January. Who had Nephilim in Miami for their first week of January? Oh man, that was so hilarious. Stop for horses in underpants. Ask rider how to proceed. Okay, don't fart in an Apple store. Why? They don't have windows. That was my favorite OPA submitted one for this week. This girl's got 4 feet of chicken-flavored ramen noodle on her head.
Ugh. That's exactly what it looks like.
Exactly what it looks like. Okay, nachos are just tacos that don't have their life together. Okay, brain cells die, skin cells die, even hair cells die. but fat cells must have accepted Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior because they seem to have eternal life. That was a good one. Okay, and last one. What's the difference between ignorance and apathy? Don't know, don't care. All right, Jeremiah, back to you.
All right, you want to pull them up, Opa? So, you know, speaking of the airplanes, it's kind of ironic that we have a bunch of clowns working on Boeing. So,
working on a 737.
Rainbow colored.
Working on a 737 Max.
Bunch of clowns.
Wow.
All right. Close enough. Yeah. Reminder, during cold weather, animals are attracted to the warmth of your vehicle. Always check your cars before driving. And then Opa showed me this tub, and I was like, you know, I already have Charlie staring at me when I'm in the tub, so, you know. Dude, cats are like, cats can be borderline creepy. Yeah. He likes to, he does some weird stuff. I must admit, all cats do. They'll follow you in the bathroom, they'll follow you. It's like they don't know how to give you any privacy, but that's why we love them. All right, let's show the next one. Yep, proves my point right there. That lady has, how many? 1, 2, 3, I can't count that far away. 9? Man, sounds like awesomeness. Vote for Rick Astley. He will never give you up, let you down, run around, desert you. He will never make you cry, never say goodbye, never tell a lie or hurt you. How I picture guys who say, we need more gun control laws. And then my girlfriend Lindsay sent me this one, and I started laughing. Do you know what this is from?
Yeah, The Mask.
And then you know who that man is?
Oh boy.
Kenneth Copeland. I have a fun fact about Kenneth Copeland. Did you know that at one point he was beating Elvis in the music charts because he was a singer before he was a televangelist? And then he went to war and came back, didn't have a record label anymore, and went to, what was it, Oral Roberts University? I'll have to do a history on it because his life is fascinating, and he is the scariest looking person I think I've ever seen in my life.
He's got those eyes.
And those teeth, man. All right, let's do the next one. And this is me. This was at our Walmart. It makes me severely uncomfortable. Look at his tongue. Ugh.
That's crazy.
They're getting more disturbing. Okay. If you turn off all the lights and say, "Best life now," in the mirror 3 times, Joel Osteen will show up and tell you how awesome you are. You are awesome. Never give up. Never surrender. It's great. Sasquatch ain't sneaking up on no one with all that clapping.
Oh, gross.
Submitted by my lovely mother. So
good one.
Are there any more? I have literally waited my entire lifetime to see this. And I said, it looks like that jellyfish UFO, doesn't it, kind of?
The cow jumped over the sun.
All right, well, that's all I got. All right, well, thank you, Jake, for another great current news and memes as always. Opa, thank you for another great Opa's Corner. I hope you guys enjoyed today's history segment and our whole episode. Never quit fighting. Let no man deceive you. Thank you for coming alongside us as we fight for justice and keep seeking truth. Subscribe and stay tuned. If you would like to submit a story, topic, or have any other inquiries, please email submit@skibanewsnation.com. Also, you can email Jeremiah Skiba personally at jeremiah@skibanewsnation.com. Also, email Jake personally at jake@skibanewsnation.com. If you want to write us a letter, send us something, help support us, or just say hi, please send your letter to Jeremiah Skiba, P.O. Box 560-271, The Colony, Texas 75056. If you write us a letter, I'll do my best to write you back. Hey, Skiba News Nation family, thank you for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you never miss an episode of Skiba News Nation. If you want to help support us, please consider becoming a Patreon, where you will get exclusive content, shoutouts, and much more. And you can also support our channel by getting yourself some new Skiba News Nation merch. Thank you for coming on this journey with us as we continue to stay on the quest for truth. Huge shout out to all our Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. We couldn't do this show without you. If you want to help support us, go to patreon.com/Skiba News Nation. Also, you can listen to Skiba News Nation podcast on your favorite podcast platform.